it's me, Allison, and let me tell you, the heat has officially arrived. Temperatures are around the 90s, the UV index is a crisp 9, and that can only mean one thing: summer is here. Now, if you live in South Florida, every single day feels like summer, but there's something about the months of June and July that just make me want to sit by the pool, read a good book, and drink a little fruity drink. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing my favorite summer reads that pair perfectly with sunscreen, sand, and a little bit of sweat. Let's get into it. To make your life easier, I'm going to be splitting this video up into 3 categories: standalones, series, and what's on my specific summer TBR. So let's go ahead and get started with those standalones. So starting off strong, this is one of my favorite summer reads. I think it's the perfect combination of mystery and romance and comedy, and that's gonna be My Killer Vacation by Tessa Bailey. If you haven't read this book yet, you are severely missing out. I mean, number one, look how small this thing is. It is literally less than 300 pages. It is the perfect sitting by the pool, read this and finish it in one sitting kind of book. So this book is a spicy romantic comedy that centers around our female main character, Taylor, who is an elementary school teacher. She has saved up all of her money to take a relaxing vacation in Cape Cod with her brother, but things go a little sideways when they find a dead body in their rental home. So enter Miles Sumner, a bounty hunter who was hired to investigate this murder. At first, him and Taylor don't really get off on the best start. He's kind of like annoyed with her because she is like kind of putting her nose in the investigation because she is addicted to true crime podcasts. So of course she knows exactly what she's doing. They are then forced to work together when it has become clear that she may be the next target in this killer's eye. As they start to navigate this investigation, these two find that they have such an undeniable spark and attraction for each other, but their future is kind of unclear since he, the bounty hunter, is always on the road, never looking to settle down, and she is completely content and having a stable life back home, but they can't deny how much they want each other. This book is also just like a perfect definition of grumpy sunshine. As you can tell, I mean, look at this cover. Please, they're too cute. They're too cute. This book is funny, spicy, romantic, mysterious. It literally has the whole package. To me, it's just the perfect summer read because not only is there a bit of romance, but there is a murder mystery to kind of spice up the plot. Also, it's just small enough to fit into your beach bag. So honestly, why are you not picking this up already? Okay, so this next one is kind of like lake summer vibes, kind of like summer vacation home vibes. And I've talked about this book a lot, but I just feel like it can go really well with the summer because I feel like sometimes summer is just really about reading a really good romance. So I would suggest reading Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. This book is a second chance romance that skips back and forth between past and present between our two characters, Macy and Elliot. So the story begins when Macy is reeling after losing her mother. Her father decides to buy them a vacation home on the countryside of San Francisco, and this is where Macy meets Elliot, the boy next door. A bond is immediately forged between these two over their shared love of books and an intimate connection that leads to friendship, which then leads to all-consuming first love. They spend lazy summers and weekends together, confiding in each other and growing up together. In the present, Macy is a pediatric resident that is engaged to another man when she unexpectedly runs into Elliot for the first time in 11 years. The story unravels just the mystery of why they broke up, what tore them apart, and if their love can overcome the complexities of their past. This is just such a beautiful book about first love, loss, and forgiveness. I cannot recommend this book enough. In my eyes, this is actually the most perfect love story ever told, and I mean that with my whole chest. I love this book so much. If you're looking for a book to completely consume your soul and alter your life as you know it, Love and Other Words is the book for you. So this next book isn't necessarily fully on the nose summer vibes. It just has more of that summer bucket list type feel. I'm not sure that it's actually set in the summer, but I think it's a good read to read in the summer. I actually read it last June, and so I would love to recommend, and that is The Birthday List by Devney Perry. Now, do not let this cover fool you. I know that it is not the most appealing cover you've ever seen, but the story inside, so good. So The Birthday List by Devney Perry follows our female main character, Poppy Mason, as she's grappling with grief after losing her husband 5 years prior. Still in deep mourning, Poppy decides that she is going to complete her late husband Jamie's birthday list, which was a list that he compiled every year of things that he wanted to do before his next birthday. She decides that she's going to do all of the things on his last birthday list to kind of find closure for herself and help her life move on. As she embarks on this journey of remembrance and healing, she unexpectedly bumps into Cole, the police officer who had to deliver the news of her husband the night that he died. After their official re-meeting, their paths cross again while she's doing one of the activities on the list, and a slow burn attraction starts to form between the both of them. Because of this, Cole decides that he wants to help Poppy fulfill all of the items on the list, and through that journey, they begin to slowly fall in love with each other, and Poppy finds that she has a second chance at happiness. So as I said, I did listen to this audiobook last summer, and I really enjoyed myself. I thought that the romance between Poppy and Cole was just so innocent and sweet. Cole is just such a patient man who wants to help Poppy face her grief, get closure, and move on, and he's not really expecting anything in return, but they do end up falling in love, and it was just a beautiful story of second chance and healing. I would highly recommend this book if you're looking for something a little bit more serious this summer. Okay, so this next one has a really odd premise, but I found myself really enjoying it while I was listening to the audio, and that is Under Lock and Key by Lana Ferguson. This is a paranormal romance where we follow Kiana McKay as she travels back to Scotland to spread the ashes of her late father in a mysterious lock. While she attempts to reconnect with her estranged family in Scotland, she does end up meeting the very secretive farmhand Lachlan Greer, who she finds she has a really strong attraction to, but she can tell that he's like hiding something. Turns out during the day he's a farmhand, but at night he is the Loch Ness Monster, which is a curse that has been plaguing his family for centuries. Key also finds out that she has some kind of power in which she can heal and potentially be the reason that this curse can be broken. So Lachlan and Key work together to try and break this curse. Let me tell you, I never thought that I would be attracted to the Loch Ness Monster, but I was proven completely wrong. Not only was it just kind of like a paranormal romance, I liked that it had all of these details about a curse and family line and her getting to reconnect with her family and through that find closure from her father's death. It was so good, so funny, and I also just love the setting of Scotland, so I would highly recommend this one if you're interested in something a little bit more spooky and paranormal this summer. Okay, now we're gonna move on to series. To me, I just feel like the summer is the perfect time to dive into a book series just because there is so much more time for me to sit down and actually look at my Kindle or pick up a physical book. To me, it just feels so wrong to make a video about summer read recommendations and not recommending the Bellinger Sisters series by Tessa Bailey. So the first book in this duology we have It Happened One Summer. So in this book, we're following Hollywood it girl Piper Bellinger as she is exiled into a small fisherman town to revive her late father's dive bar. So as she's shipped off to Westport, Washington, she bumps into fisherman captain Brendan Taggart, who she finds she has an undeniable attraction to. As Piper begins to adjust to the small town life, she begins to discover things about herself, her family's history, and the romance between her and Brendan are making her question everything of her old glamorous life. Guys, Brendan Taggart is literally the man of your dreams, and I cannot stress this enough. He starts off as this really grumpy man who wants to stick so strictly to his routine, to a man who will give up his life and move to a completely different state as long as it means that Piper remains in his arms forever. This book is just a perfect blend of comedy, romance, and self-discovery. It is the must read of the summer. So the next book in this duology is Hook, Line, Sinker, which follows Piper's sister Hannah as she is struggling to make herself a career in the film industry. She is obsessed with music and wants to become one of those people that make soundtracks for movies. As a way to impress her crush, who also works on this movie set, she suggests that they could film their movie in Westport, Washington, where her sister now resides. And so that's when she starts to room with Fox Thornton, who is one of Brendan's fishermen on his boat. Now, Fox is a notorious playboy, but when he met Hannah in It Happened One Summer, he found that they had this connection and they had this long distance texting connection after she left Westport. So when she came back into town, he had no problem letting her stay in his extra bedroom. So while she's staying with Fox, she seeks him out, trying to get advice on how to impress this crush of hers that's also working with her. So as they continue to live together, their platonic friendship switches into a steamy romance in which they have to confront their insecurities, embrace their true feelings. I will say that this sequel was not as good as It Happened One Summer, but I thought that it paired perfectly with the first book. It was just a different kind of story because Hannah is more level-headed than Piper was. But I will say that it's a pretty quick read, and I think that it would be the perfect book to read by the pool. So this next series is actually one of my favorite of all times. All of the books are so good, no skips, and that is the Part of Your World series by Abby Jimenez. This series is an interconnected standalone series in which we're following different friends in each book, and they're all to die for. So book one is actually called Part of Your World. We're following Alexis Montgomery. She's a highly successful but emotionally controlled ER nurse from a pretty prestigious family in Minneapolis. After a pretty public meltdown and trying to escape an abusive relationship, she finds herself stranded in a small town where she meets Daniel Grant. Daniel is a kind and considerate carpenter who is also this town's mayor and also runs the bed and breakfast in this small town. Despite their vastly different worlds, her in high-pressure medicine and family expectations versus his tight-knit, small community type vibe, they find that they have an attraction toward each other that they can't deny. Alexis begins to struggle with her feelings with Daniel, not only because of her family expectations, but also she just kind of has this vision of what she wants her life to be, and this is not how she pictured it. This book was just so enchanting to me. I love a story about finding where you belong even when it seems ridiculous to your family or friends. Alexis took charge of her life, and Daniel did not judge her at all. He actually helped her pursue and gave her the tools in order to make herself feel more confident about where she is in her life. It also just has some really funny side characters that just make this book full circle. I would highly recommend, but this next book is actually my favorite in the series. So next we have Yours Truly, which is book 2 that is centered around Alexis's best friend Brianna, who is also a nurse. Brianna is kind of spiraling at the moment because she just got out of a divorce and her brother is in desperate need of a kidney transplant. This is when she clashes with Dr. Jacob Maddox, a seemingly arrogant new colleague, but he actually has the worst social anxiety imaginable. After their initial bad first impressions of each other, Jacob decides to try and write it by writing her letters while they're at work. That kind of reveals his true character. Through these notes and the back and forth, they seem to form a friendship that then turns into something a little bit more. So much so that Jacob ends up donating a kidney to her brother. But as we saw in the beginning of this book, Jacob's brother is actually going to marry Jacob's ex-girlfriend, and so his family is a little worried about him as the wedding approaches. So he asked Brianna to pretend date him while this whole wedding is going on so that his family just won't worry about him. So in between the fake dating and the family functions, they do seem to form a connection that they can't seem to deny. This book does a really good job of blending romance with also more serious topics like navigating past hurts and getting over these past hurts so that you can be happy in the future. I just didn't know that I needed a socially anxious man in my life, but Jacob just really takes the cake for me. Jacob is the most thoughtful, caring, and soft man, and because he's so socially anxious, he is in tune with his emotions, he journals, he loves plants, and He is not afraid to tell you exactly what he's thinking in order to get to the bottom of an issue. He is just literally so perfect. So the last and third book in the Part of Your World series is Just for the Summer. We're following Emma and Justin, who seem to share a peculiar curse in which everybody that they date and break up with, they find their soulmate right after. After Justin posts about this curse on Reddit, Emma decides to reach out to him because she feels that she is also experiencing this said curse, and they decide that they should date just for the summer with the intention of breaking up, thus breaking the curse for both of them, and they can go on and find their true love. Obviously, that was like a silly conversation they had, but then Emma decides she actually does want to go and meet Justin. So as a traveling nurse, her and her best friend move to Minneapolis where she meets Justin, and they had to plan to do these dates. But as you know, fake dating can never last for long because these two eventually do catch feelings for each other. Even though this book was so lighthearted and fun, there were also just some pieces that were so much more in depth than you would expect. There is some issues with Justin's family in which his mother is going to jail, so he has to take care of his younger 3 siblings, one who is basically a toddler, all at like 27 years old, by the way. And Emma is just always struggling with never finding a home. She was in the foster care her whole life. Her mother was like kind of a deadbeat, but she still like has these like obligations she feels towards her mother, so there's some issues with that. So I feel like this next series is a series that's kind of slept on, and it's the When in Rome series by Sarah Adams. In the first book, When in Rome, we follow pop star Amelia Rose as she's trying to escape the stress and anxieties of like celebrity life and runs to small town Rome, Kentucky, where her car does break down in front of our main male character Noah's house. Noah Walker is a gruff, no-nonsense, traditional pie shop owner who reluctantly lets her stay in his spare bedroom for the night after her car breaks down. Amelia begins to shed that like celebrity persona that she has to put on all the time and begins to embrace the small town life and eventually starts to have feelings for Mr. Noah here. The story explores self-discovery but also grumpy sunshine, also celebrity meets normal person, as they face the challenge of their vastly different worlds and a looming deadline that Amelia has to get back to her celebrity lifestyle. This book just felt so warm and cozy. I don't think it's necessarily set in the summer, but it just feels very like summer vibes, especially just like the series as a whole. I will say like this wasn't my favorite one. It's probably my least favorite in the entire series, but it still was a good start to introduce you to this family. Noah is the older brother, and the next books are about his younger sisters. So it was a good introduction to lead into this next one, which is Practice Makes Perfect. So this book follows the youngest Walker sibling, Annie. She is a somewhat naive flower shop owner who is reeling from her bad dating experiences. She just longs for a deep connection, but she feels like she doesn't have the necessary dating skills in her tool belt. So enter Will Griffin, who is Amelia from the first book, her bodyguard, who decides that he's going to help her and teach her some skills in the world of dating. Their lessons involve fake dates, practice flirting, and just sharing vulnerabilities. The more time that they spend together, the more they find they're attracted to each other. And they both begin to realize that maybe the person that they're practicing with might actually be the person that they're supposed to be with. Y'all, let me just tell you, Will Griffin is that book boyfriend. You have no idea. He comes off as this rough bodyguard, but who is just so soft and sweet when it comes to Annie. I stayed up until 4 a.m. trying to finish this book. I'm telling you, it is a must read this summer. And book 3, we have Beg, Borrow, and Steal, which is like peak workplace rivals plus enemies to lovers. This book follows Emily, a highly organized second grade teacher / secret romance novelist, and her arch nemesis, Jack, who is a charming but frustrating fellow teacher who just moved back to Rome, Kentucky after he called off his engagement. Emily is kind of like shook by Jack's return because they've been rivals since college, but she actually has to turn and seek for his help after she accidentally sends her really spicy romance novel to the principal of their school. She asks Jack to help her retrieve it from his email so that she can keep her job, and from there, their scheming and sneaking around sparks their attraction for each other. Turns out Jack has actually been attracted to Emily for years and years and years, but their rivalry has like stopped him from like ever doing anything about it. This book was just such a delight. It was funny, the banter was great, the back and forth between these two was just so funny, but I also just felt like their romance was just so sweet. It was so sweet to see that he finally got the girl that he's been like craving since they've met. I also really enjoy Sarah Adams' books because most of them just don't have smut at all, which I find refreshing sometimes. So I love Sarah Adams a lot. I think she's the perfect author for that if you're not looking for something super steamy. Now the series is actually not even finished. There is a 4th book coming out, I think next April. So maybe this summer is a great time for you to catch up on the first 3 so that you're prepared for April and next year. Now moving on to my specific TBR for the summer. Recently I started reading the Shatter Me series, which is a dystopian series that gives off X-Men vibes. There are about 11 or 10 books in the series. I honestly don't know for sure because there's a lot of like novellas in between all of these books. This series is not necessarily like summer vibes. I just wanted like a lengthy series to read for the summer. So I am actually on book 4 now, and the first 3 were incredible. I was so entertained and enthralled into the world, so I'm excited to like finish the series. So that's all the rest of those books are actually on my TBR at the moment. Next we have Sounds Like Love by Ashley Poston. Now I've only read 1 book by Ashley Poston, obviously The 7-Year Slip, one of her most popular, and I did enjoy myself. It wasn't my favorite in the entire world, but I did enjoy it, and I've heard that a lot of Ashley Poston's books kind of have like a magic element to it, but also it's more like real world vibes. So when I saw this one, not only was the cover so gorgeous, I was like, I'm gonna give her another shot, and this one's centered around music, so I was like, okay, fine, I'll dive in. Next, I want to read Picture Us by Molly Goines. I think that's how you say her last name. This is a baseball romance. I met this author a couple months ago when I went to a book convention in Fort Lauderdale, and her covers were just so cute, and she said that this book was her favorite out of all the ones that she has written. There's just nothing more summer vibes than like a baseball game, and this book in particular is like the pitcher and the team photographer also like forbidden romance. Like I'm going to eat it up, and you cannot stop me. And lastly, I want to read The Hotel Nantucket by Ellen Hildebrand. Every single summer reads video that I have watched this year, this book has been recommended. The cover is pretty unenticing, I have to say, but everybody is raving about it, and they say it's like the perfect summer read. So I'm going to give it a shot and see what I think. I've never read anything by Ellen Hildebrand, so I'm excited to try a new author. I just like, this is one of those books that like are the perfect book to just bring to the beach. So I'm excited to read that. So that is a wrap on my summer reads and recommendations lineup. Whether you're heading to the beach, lounging by the pool, or just cranking up your AC, I hope that I gave you a couple of recommendations that you can add to your TBR. If you've read any of these or have a recommendation of your own, please leave a comment down below. My TBR is never full enough. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you want any more bookish content. I'll leave some social media links down below, my Goodreads, my Instagram, my TikTok, my podcast. But for now, bye guys!